Real Madrid are signing Vinicius Jr.'s replacement. Let that sentence land for a second. The club that paid 46 million euros for him. The club he won 2 Champions Leagues for. The club that put a 1 billion euro release clause in his contract. The club whose fans have sung his name for 8 years. That club is currently in negotiations to sign Yan Diomande from RB Leipzig to replace him. Not as competition, as a replacement. And Arsenal are watching, waiting, ready to do the most shocking thing English football has ever done. Sign the best player in the world away from Real Madrid. Welcome back to Robert's Football Talk. I am your host, and if you are new here, subscribe right now and hit that bell, because today we are breaking down the transfer story that has broken the internet in the last 24 hours. Vinicius Jr. 1 year left on his contract. Contract talks completely dead. Real Madrid buying his replacement. Arsenal ready to pounce. And a relationship with a manager that has broken so badly that Vinicius walked off the pitch in an El Clasico shouting, "I am leaving the team." This is the biggest transfer story in football right now, and we are going all the way in. Subscribe now, let us go. Part 1. The moment nobody saw coming. The El Clasico meltdown that started everything. To understand where Vinicius Jr. and Real Madrid are right now, you have to go back to one specific moment. One moment that changed everything. El Clasico. Real Madrid versus Barcelona. The biggest club match in world football. Vinicius on the pitch, doing what Vinicius does. Running at defenders. Creating danger. Being the most exciting player on that pitch every time he had the ball. And then Xabi Alonso substituted him in the 72nd minute. Not in a friendly, not in a cup game. In El Clasico. The match where every Real Madrid player wants to be the hero. The match that defines careers and creates legends. Alonso looked at his bench and decided Vinicius Jr. needed to come off in the 72nd minute of El Clasico. And Vinicius walked off the pitch and said words that the entire football world heard. He said, "I am leaving the team. It is better if I leave. I am leaving." In the middle of El Clasico, into the Real Madrid bench, those words. From the player who helped deliver the Champions League. From the player with a 1 billion euro release clause. From the player who is supposed to be one of the 2 most important attackers at the club alongside Mbappe. And since that moment, the contract talks that had been slow for 18 months stopped completely. Vinicius paused negotiations, his camp went quiet, and Real Madrid started looking at alternatives. Now I want to ask you something before we go further. Was Alonso wrong to substitute Vinicius in El Clasico, or was Vinicius's reaction the real problem? Drop your answer in the comments right now. Part 2. The contract stalemate. 18 months of nothing and 1 year left on the deal. Let me give you the financial picture of this contract situation, because the numbers tell the whole story. Vinicius Jr.'s current deal expires in June 2027. He is 26 years old. He signed his last extension in October 2023 at a salary that was reported at the time as approximately 20 million euros per year. At that moment, it seemed like the relationship was settled. The contract was done. The release clause was set at 1 billion euros. Vinicius was going nowhere. And then Mbappe arrived. On a higher salary, the club's new number 1, the Galactico above all Galacticos. And suddenly Vinicius's 20 million euros per year did not look like the salary of Real Madrid's most important attacking player anymore, because Mbappe was earning more. And Vinicius knew it. He wants 30 million euros net per week, according to reports, just over 550,000 euros a week. His representatives told Real Madrid that his salary needs to reflect his status as one of the 2 best players in the world. Not the 3rd best player at his own club. One of the 2 best in the world. Real Madrid said no. The gap between what Vinicius wants and what the club will pay has been described as significant. And for 18 months, both sides have sat on their positions without moving. There is no budging on the contract from Real Madrid or Vinicius. Those are the words used by a source directly involved in the negotiations. No budging. From either side. For 18 months. With 1 year left on the deal. And Real Madrid have been clear internally. They will not allow Vinicius to enter the final year of his contract without either agreeing an extension or selling him. Because losing the most valuable winger in world football for free in June 2027 would be the biggest financial disaster in the club's modern history. The deadline is now. This summer. Either the deal gets done, or Vinicius Jr. goes up for sale. Subscribe to Robert's Football Talk right now. Share this video, because the Arsenal angle changes everything. Part 3. Arsenal. The most shocking transfer interest in Premier League history. Here is what the most respected journalists in football have reported in the last 24 hours. David Ornstein and Charles Watts of The Athletic broke the story. Arsenal are exploring a deal for Vinicius Jr. Michael Jacobs confirmed independently. He said Arsenal view a deal as a viable option, although no bid has yet been made. He said Arsenal are prepared to be opportunistic, given Vinicius currently has 1 year left on his deal. He said Arsenal are prepared to open talks, if given encouragement from the player side. Sky Sports confirmed Real Madrid's interest in signing Yan Diomande from RB Leipzig, calling the move a sign that a Vinicius departure has become increasingly real. Fabrizio Romano confirmed that Arsenal are ready to go strong for another major signing amid the Vinicius links. 4 of the most reliable transfer journalists in the world, all saying the same thing. Arsenal want Vinicius Jr. Real Madrid might sell, and this could actually happen. Let me put this in context. Arsenal winning the Premier League title last season under Mikel Arteta is already one of the great achievements in recent English football history. Arsenal reaching the Champions League final was historic. But Arsenal signing Vinicius Jr. from Real Madrid would be something different entirely. That is not just the signing of a great player. That is the signing that announces to the entire world that Arsenal are not just a top club competing for domestic titles. They are a global superpower, competing with Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Paris Saint-Germain for the most elite players alive. Vinicius Jr. in an Arsenal shirt, at the Emirates Stadium, in the Premier League, under Mikel Arteta, with Bukayo Saka on the opposite wing, with Declan Rice and Martin Odegaard in midfield, with the Champions League ahead of them. That team does not just compete for the Premier League. That team is the favorite to win the Champions League. Now I want to ask you something. If Arsenal signed Vinicius Jr. this summer, does it make them the best team in the world overnight? Or does it create problems because of Saka and the money involved? Tell me in the comments. Part 4. The Mourinho problem. The manager who took over and made everything worse. Here is the layer of this story that most people are not reporting enough, because the Alonso substitute in El Clasico is the visible flashpoint. But the real damage happened before Alonso was even the manager. Mourinho arrived at Real Madrid, and one of his first jobs was to assess the squad he had inherited. He looked at Vinicius. He looked at the contract situation. He looked at the relationship that had already been damaged by the Alonso substitution. And instead of rebuilding that relationship, reports suggest Mourinho's arrival actually accelerated the breakdown. Mourinho and Vinicius have history that predates this season. The February 2026 incident in Lisbon, when Mourinho publicly questioned Vinicius after the racial abuse allegation against Benfica's Prestiani. Mourinho seemed to blame Vinicius for the incident. Those words poisoned the relationship before Mourinho had even walked through the door at Valdebebas. And now Mourinho is the manager, and Vinicius is in the final year of his contract. And the man who publicly questioned him during a racial abuse incident is now the man deciding how many minutes he plays and in what position, and whether he starts or comes off the bench. That environment is not one where contract renewal conversations happen easily. That environment is not one where a player who already felt disrespected by the previous manager decides to commit his future. Vinicius paused the contract talks after the relationship with Alonso collapsed. He has not restarted them under Mourinho. And the fact that Mourinho has allowed the Diomande replacement conversations to be confirmed publicly while Vinicius' future is still unresolved tells you something about where the manager sees this situation heading. Part 5. The Xabi Alonso wound that never healed. Let me go back to the Alonso situation, because it is the root of everything. Vinicius went from being untouchable under Ancelotti to fighting for minutes under Alonso. He was kept on for only 90 minutes in 6 appearances since Alonso took over. 6 appearances, 90 minutes total, for Real Madrid's number 7. The man with a €1 billion release clause. The man who scored in the Champions League final. When Alonso took over from Xabi Alonso in January, the immediate effect on Vinicius was visible. He was being managed differently, played in different positions, substituted when the team needed goals rather than when they were protecting leads. The relationship between the two was described as tense, never warm. Always professional, but never anything more. And then El Clasico, the 72nd minute substitution, the words on the pitch, "I am leaving the team. It is better if I leave." Those words were not said in the heat of a bad result. Real Madrid were winning El Clasico when Vinicius said them. His team was ahead. He was taken off while his team was winning El Clasico, and he still said, "I am leaving." That tells you how deep the unhappiness ran. It was not tactical frustration, it was personal. The feeling of a player who believed he was being deliberately undermined, who believed the club and the manager were choosing to diminish him, who looked at what Mbappe was allowed to do and compared it to what he was being asked to do and saw an inequality that no amount of Champions League nights or La Liga titles was going to fix. Subscribe to Robert's Football Talk right now because the final part of this story is the most important. Part 6. What happens next? The 3 possible endings. Let me give you the 3 ways this story ends, because not all of them involve Arsenal. Ending 1, the contract gets done. Vinicius and Real Madrid find a compromise on salary. The Diomande signing does not happen, or happens as genuine competition rather than a replacement. Mourinho and Vinicius find a working relationship despite their history, and Vinicius stays at the Bernabeu for 3 more years and adds to a legacy that already includes 2 Champions Leagues and 106 goals. This is the ending Real Madrid want. It is the ending the Madrid fans are begging for. And according to AS Newspaper and Daily Post Nigeria, it might actually be where Vinicius' head is. Reports from 19 hours ago suggest Vinicius is not currently entertaining interest from Arsenal, that his priority is to reach a resolution with Real Madrid, that he wants to make the process easy for all parties involved. Ending 2. Arsenal make their move and Vinicius goes to London. The fee would be enormous. Not the full €1 billion release clause, which only applies to outside Spain purchases in theory, but a negotiated fee that Real Madrid accept rather than risk losing him for free in 2027. Reports suggest a fee in the €150 to €200 million range. Arsenal have the budget. Arsenal have the Champions League football. Arsenal have the Premier League platform. And Arteta's system of direct attacking football with pace and creativity on the wings is perfect for what Vinicius does. Ending 3. Saudi Arabia. Al Hilal were offering €1 billion in salary over 5 years in 2024. That offer has not disappeared. It has been waiting. If Vinicius and Real Madrid cannot agree, and Arsenal do not come through with a strong enough offer from the player's perspective, the Saudi option becomes more than a negotiating chip. Right now, the most likely ending based on the evidence from the last 24 hours is ending 1. Vinicius wants to stay. His camp has gone quiet on Arsenal, and Real Madrid will eventually pay what he wants, because losing him for free would be catastrophic. But the fact that ending 2 is even being discussed, the fact that David Ornstein and Charles Watts and Fabrizio Romano and Michael Jacobs are all writing about Arsenal and Vinicius in the same sentence, the fact that Real Madrid are publicly negotiating for his replacement, the fact that the relationship has been broken for so long that it produced an "I am leaving the team" moment in El Clasico. All of that means the €1 billion wall around Vinicius Jr. is cracking. And when a wall like that cracks, anything can come through. Madrid fans are furious. At Alonso, at Mourinho, at the board, at the contract negotiators, at everyone who let an 8-year relationship with their greatest attacking player reach this point. A player who gave them Champions League glory, who gave them 106 goals, who wore the number 7 with the same fire that Ronaldo wore it before him. And Arsenal are sitting there with the money, the project, and the patience to wait for the moment when the crack in that wall becomes wide enough for one of the greatest players in the world to walk through. That is the full breakdown, the El Clasico meltdown, the 18 months of contract stalemate, the Mourinho history, the Arsenal interest confirmed by 4 of the world's best journalists, and the 3 possible endings to the story that has taken over world football. 3 questions. Drop all 3 in the comments right now. First, does Vinicius Jr. leave Real Madrid this summer, or does he sign the extension? Second, if he leaves, should he go to Arsenal or somewhere else? Third, Madrid fans only. How much do you blame Mourinho and Alonso for letting this relationship break down? Drop everything below. I read every single one, and this story is moving fast. Check back on this channel every day, because the next update could change everything. This has been Robert's Football Talk. Hit that like button, share this video with every football fan you know right now, because Vinicius Jr. to Arsenal is the transfer that could change the Premier League forever. Subscribe if you are not already here. New videos every single week. I will see you in the next one.